Yeah, we don't. He could have a little bit of sidewall damage there to the car that could be affecting his aerodynamics just a little bit. But here comes Doug thinking about a move to the outside, going down into the chicane. He's going to have to be very brave to do it and pulls it off. Oh, you can't get a whole lot closer than that. My goodness gracious.
Let's take a look at this from the hood, because this is where Partridge needs to change his pants, and Kinchler probably does too after he saw what happened in his mirrors. But Partridge comes in too hot, clips that inside curve, gets unsettled, then he's on the brakes. We're going to go in slow-mo here to see how close it was, and it was very close.
Yeah, the top three have been an incredible fight. Oh man.
Gently does it, boys, as they make their way down. They bang wheels. Oh, Sebastian Tixier, he goes tumbling over. Trengarade going off the circuit. Goodness gracious. Looked like Jim Shedlick went off the track in sympathy there.
This is the view that he has going through. He sees a couple lights in the distance, trying to get it rejoined.
Oh, that's not good. Careful, boys, careful. Too wide coming up, Eau Rouge. And the loser there is going to be Vaughn as Karthik Pai keeps his foot in it. Vaughn going to lose another position there to Mika Lino. And Lino going to go for a 2-for-1 as they come down the Kamel straight. He has got such massive overspeed. Look at that move from the number 5 machine.
If there's one way to shake things up in racing, it's to present the drivers with a new challenge. And what better way to do that than to use the newest track on the sim? Fuji may have been around in the real world for a long time, but for the first time ever, we'll get to see how our online competitors handle it as we get ready to watch round 2 of the Kamel GT series. And you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Adam Lindgren. Behind the scenes is our director, Ryan Bauer, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beer. If you didn't grow up as a member of Gen X or Y to spend time in an 80s arcade, Fuji might be a bit more of an unfamiliar name. Let's head to our track guide to see where this place sits in sim racing history. Welcome to Fuji International Speedway. Built right at the foot of the picturesque Mount Fuji and a mere 1.5-hour drive southwest of Tokyo, it certainly resides in a prime location. Having been around since 1967, this place is perhaps most well known for its presence in the classic video game Pole Position. However, its modern incarnation looks nothing like it did back when that game came out in 1982. At just under 3 miles, or 4.5 kilometers, its 2 layouts have 14 and 16 turns, which is significantly more than what it started with. Without the banking that used to be a part of the first and final corners, its most notable feature nowadays is the front stretch that covers nearly a full mile. The turns that make up the other half of the track make for quite a technical challenge. It includes everything from the long sweeper of 100R, to the tight confines of hairpin, to the finicky back and forth of nets. This place hosted Formula One back in the 70s and again in the later 2000s, but it has a much stronger history hosting endurance racing. Sports cars are still a heavy staple here. That's not to say open-wheelers don't still call this place home, though. Lower-level formulas, as well as Japan's popular Super Formula, make frequent visits. From humble origins in SimRacing's history to arriving 40 years later on iRacing, Fuji has been a fan favorite for a long, long time. Well, Adam, before our drivers go and vie for pole position around here, what can we expect with these cars at a completely new track?
Well, in the shadow of Mount Fuji stands this racetrack that's known to many as the former site of the Japanese Grand Prix, but known to others as one of the more challenging and slippery circuits run by sports cars. This beautiful venue gives way to a 2.79 mile or 4.49 kilometer 14-turn layout of this classic circuit that has a beautiful track to drive for fun, but an insanely track to drive to master. The newest addition to the iRacing paved road series, the Nissan, they'll feel the most at home here around this track, as their high downforce will be helping keep them stuck down to the track around many of the medium speed sweeping corners. But they will struggle massively in the final sector from Dunlop through Panasonic, as those medium speed corners give way to tight, winding, low speed corners that are more the Audi's affair. The GTOs won't have it easy, though, as those sweeping medium-speed corners and a couple of high-speed kinks threaten to send the Audis flying off track, and their very slow cornering speed throughout the lap is likely to catch the Nissans off guard, making multi-class pretty precarious around here. The Nissans will be trying not to lose too much time as they make their way around the Audis as they take up most of the road, trying to hang on to some temperature in their front tires. Passing around here is tricky if you can't get it done on the massive mile-long front stretch, with your best options being into the hairpin or maybe a well set up move into Dunlop if you're lucky. But all in all, I expect to see a lot of exploratory, cautious driving on Kamel's first visit here. But with the car count we have here today, Joe, I don't know if anyone's going to have the room for that.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty packed in there, no doubt. But let's take a look at the championship before we get to that, because up at the top, Michael de Turk is leading the way, taking a victory, not just in the Kamel Series back at Le Mans, but in the Lotus 49 in that first week of the season, back-to-back last time. He didn't repeat that today, unfortunately, but we'll see how he fares here. Heitor Sintes Galindo, a current rating champion, the GTPs following behind him in second in that first race. Sanchez rounding out the podium. From there, Joseph Mudrack with an excellent fourth place. Let's see if he can back that up today, though, because it's, of course, a bit of an odd one out in France. And then from there on down, you see down to 10th place with Gabbiani wrapping things up in the GTPs. However, let's take a look at the GTOs.
GTOs are as they stood from last race. That's Yuka Leskala with the lead. Javier Del Olmo beating Doug Cloud out for that second position. And then Gregorio Buscemi down in fourth with Emerson Gaudin rounding out your top five. Jamie Hamill-Smith did not have the greatest start to his season down in sixth with Jose Wilcox seventh, Hideki Koivisto in eighth, Oren Laskin ninth, and Tomas Martinez Oriarsi in the 10th position. There are a total of 15 drivers who scored points last round. And it's about 1/3 Audis to 2/3 Nissans today. So those Audis are going to be hard pressed to have any battles of their own with the amount of Nissans on track.
Undoubtedly. Now, for today's race, it is back to our standard fare. We had a lapped race, a lap limited race last time, and this time it is timed, as is tradition here in Kamel, and it's their sprint format at 40 minutes long. Open setup in these cars, of course, will mean that you can try and find some speed down the front straightaway, but will you want to sacrifice the speed in the rest of the lap? Now, drive-through penalties will be at 17 incidents. It's a lot of paved runoff out there, easy to rack those up, and they have a disqualification at 25 incidents. So keep it on the deliberately placed racetrack itself and not the other parts that are meant to try and save you if you have an off. And you should be fine regardless. But we still have drivers yet to set a time around this circuit. So it looks like, and Andy T is coming in with the provisional pole. So he's back once again to show just how quick he is. However, in the GTOs, it looks like we're still looking for our first drivers to set a time.
Yep, still waiting for our first drivers to set their times around here. Nick Macanos, Javier Del Olmo, Gregorio Buscemi, still running their laps around here. Ian Haycox is back after having unfortunate first lap wreck last round. But you know what I'm seeing missing from this list, Joe? And this is something I was concerned about last round. Yuko Leskla.
Well, the rest of the drivers are not concerned. I guarantee you that. They feel like maybe there's a chance for somebody else to win for once. And of course, Yuko taking the victory last time out and having racked up a lot of wins over the history of the Kamel GT series since it was first began. Ooh, Farron Grau just took provisional pole in the GTPs. Now that, I don't think we've ever seen Farron Grau on pole here as far as I can recall.
Well, if you got a lot of time to practice this new track, not a lot of folks have had time to practice it, so there's a good opportunity for some unexpected results here as we see Michael DeTurk now jump up to provisional pole in the GTPs. I will say, Joe, I have seen a lot of GTPs sliding off this track. The track is just a little too tight for these GTPs to feel comfortable going full throttle around some of these medium speed corners. They're really sliding out the rear end, so definitely something to keep in mind. In the GTOs, Reed Miller with the current provisional pole, Javier Del Olmo about a 10th off of him, then it's 3/10 down to Nick Macanos from there.
Watching Ryan Walker here try to take that number 3 a little higher than the outside of the third row. Andy T goes back up into second, about 400ths behind Michael DeTurk. It is going to be tight up there, and I'm sure Andy is not going to try and play patient on that one. He'll want to try and lead this race, no doubt, as Ryan comes to the line. Let's see if he improves here on that 34-1. And no, his lap gets deleted as Reed Miller gets overtaken by Del Olmo in the 14, goes up to a 33-1. Reed did not improve on his second lap.
Yeah, good work from Del Olmo to get up there into the provisional pole position. It's going to be quite tight battles from about 4th on back, to be honest with you. We have 4th down to, oh my goodness, down to 12th, all under half a second in our qualifying times in the GTOs. So that's going to be an interesting pack to watch at the beginning of this race before the GTPs catch up to them. Now the GTPs are lapping about 12 seconds faster per lap than the GTOs, and that's about 2 seconds faster than their average delta. So expect the GTPs to catch up to the GTOs on about their 4th or 5th lap.
Mark Krejcik coming around and flying down the incredibly long front stretch in that number 11. Let's see if he goes higher than 7th. No, he does not improve, unfortunately, and he will stay put. Sintez Galindo is on his second lap right now. His first one got deleted. Going to be important if he wants to try and back up the championship to get a good finish here today. Here you can see him coming down to the line, and the start to a good race can certainly help determine the finish, and he is going to jump up to 4th with a lap finally on the board. Thankfully, disaster averted.
Amber Dauenbaugh, last week's real surprise driver, is going to be crossing the line just now, and I'm curious to see whether or not they set a time of 1:21.825, so up to 11th position for Amber. Keep my eyes on Amber as one of our newer drivers that's definitely making an impact.
Looking through to see who's going to be next to come across. Looks like Pereira maybe here. Nope, he's finished both of his laps and they both got deleted, so he's done for the day. Travis Rodriguez should be able to get to the line in time, and he is it. That's the last one in that 49. There we see the Texan driver who has actually, is he the, no, he's not the last. We have 53 drivers here today, but certainly has a pretty low down I rating of those competing, and unfortunately both of his got deleted as well. So Travis is going to have to work his way from the back of the field in his Taco Bell machine. Well, let's take you through that grid since we have so many here today, as Michael DeTurk has managed to take the pole and seems to be a good challenge for Andy T. It's going to be Farron Grau starting on the inside of row 2, and Heitor Sintez Galindo, the current champion, starting from 4th. Laust Olsen comes in with a 5th in qualifying. Timothy Vaughn in the 6th spot. After that, Xavier Sanchez, who had quite a fight back in the 49s at Mid-Ohio today, starts from 7th. Martin Krejcik will be 8th, and then Joseph Mudrack 9th. Diego Mastretta will round out your top 10. Amber Dawnbaugh will be on the top of the next slide with Robert Lowry in the 12th position of a Trangrade P13. Surprisingly low for him. Jack Wells starts 14th, Fabian Muglu P15, and then it's Gianluca Gabbiani in 16th. James King comes back, and he'll start from 17th position. Marty Novak will be 18th, and Pedro Barbosa, one of our on-cam drivers, starts from 19th. Paul Velasco will be 20th. On to the next slide. Irving Ferrer will be 21st, and then you've got Nate Kerr in 22nd, Lincoln Twet in the 23rd position. To his outside, it'll be Brendan Lim. Kierkegaard Pirchik will be in 25th, and Jean Orendane in the 26th position. Sean Delapace in 27th, and Nick Bobby in 28th. From there, it's drivers who did not set a time will be at the back of the GTP fields, which includes Livengood, Hop, Herrera, Arribas, and Pruitt.
And then we get on to the GTOs with Javier Del Olmo taking the pole position over Reed Miller. Rahul Diaz-Cavila is back to take third position away from Nick Macanos, who's going to start off in fourth with Ian Haycox rounding out your top five. Doug Cloud's going to start off in sixth position with Ryan Walker in seventh and Marco Ole in the eighth spot with Hideki Koivisto ninth, Jamie Hamill-Smith in 10th. Andreas Schuster has returned to the series to start off in 11th position with Emerson Gaudin next to him in 12th. Robert Plumley in 13th with Gregorio Buscemi starting up at 14th. Not a great qualifying for Gregorio today. Stefan Leslie starting off at 15th position with Mika Tupola in 16th and Gabrielete in the 17th position. Those are your drivers who have set qualifying times. The ones who haven't, Carlos Fonseca, David Silva, and Travis Rodriguez rounding out your 53 cars today. And Joe, the GTOs are going to have to start somewhere between Nets and Panasonic. That's going to make for an interesting start for that class for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. And you can see it's a pretty decent condition. It's a little warm, but nothing really too outrageous at 34 Celsius for our drivers. We do have a little bit of time, I think, for Pedro Barbosa's cam, as he's our lone driver. Oh, but he's being held up. Is somebody in front of him? Oh, no, he's going slow. So he was holding up a lot of drivers.
And there are quite a few drivers who are starting from the pits in this race as well, so something to keep in mind as well.
So finally on his way. This is our first time getting to see his camera as far as I'm aware. Hopefully we'll get to check in with him a few times, and it looks like he's going to be able to get back to the fields before they get the green. Now it is quite a ways down the straight before that pace car is able to pull in, so they're going to have to stay patient here. But then it is still an incredibly long from that portion down into Daiichi. So will we all be able to make it through? They have plenty of runoff to the outside if they need to escape, but of course everybody's going to be checking up into there, and that could cause some consternation as they approach the pit entry. There it is, and immediately goes our pole sitter. Michael DeTurkey is off like a shot, and he gets a good jump over Andy T. Green flag here at Fuji for the first time in the Kamel GT series, coming down into the braking. A little bit of a look for second place from Grau, and Grau's going to try to take it from Andy. It looks like he is going to get it behind him. Everybody sneaks around the downhill right-hander, and it looks like we're good. Let's go to the GTOs.
GTOs got a good start side by side between Javier Del Olmo and Reed Miller, and look at that, they had some bunch of GTOs spread out behind them. Reed Miller's going to try and take the lead away from Javier Del Olmo on the start of this race as they dive into Daiichi, and he's going to be able to do it. A good launch off the corner gets Reed the position, but Javier Del Olmo with speed around the outside going to try and challenge back. Nick McCall's up a second. We've had some wrecks in the back as Doug Cloud and Ryan Walker, who have come together in the first turn.
Spinning off, but not making heavy contact with the wall, thankfully, as we see them head through 100R down to the infamous hairpin. Also, in that, I noticed that Ian Haycox came very close to being spun around at the very first lap once again. Yeah, thankfully he got through it.
Yeah, it looks like there's a lot of battling inside. Oh, Jamie Hamill-Smith gets hit off. We just saw that right as we were cutting away, but look at this battle for the lead. So tight between these two drivers, Reed Miller and Javier Del Olmo. Javier going to try and take it down the inside there of Reed Miller. Man, they're attacking this track right now.
Ooh, and Cavilla unfortunately had a missed shift in there. Somebody off to the side and from the GTP seems
Christian
to have
Arribas.
a wreck. So I think he's going to carry on. It looks like he's got the car moving, but now he's in and amongst a very tricky pack of cars. But also, who's going to use this slipstream? I don't know if Reed Miller really wants to lead here, because this might be an easy pass. This will be our first cue.
Side by side for the lead of the GTPs, Farron Grau and Michael DeTurk. Farron up for just a moment as Michael DeTurk takes the corner, takes Coca-Cola away from Farron Grau, but Farron going to try and power on the outside of 100R. Hard to do in these GTPs. The tires are not quite up to temperature yet. And Farron Grau under pressure from Andy T as Andy trying to make his way up. Look, Farron Grau trying to dive to the inside of Michael DeTurk, riding on board with Andy T now as we look on this three-way battle for the lead.
And Farron is unfazed by Andy's aggression as he chopped down in front of him through 100R with inches to spare between them as they head into Dunlop now. Quick right-hand flick in this format, and then it gets into the infield section.
Yeah, we took out that chicane to try and give these cars a little bit more room to run. I can report that Amber Downbow has just had a spin in the middle of the pack, also causing some consternation with the rest of the pack. Quite a few drivers having issues, like Paul Velasco, who's fallen back. These GTPs starting to struggle with their rear tires already, Joe.
This is all before they get into any sort of traffic between the classes. So this is just the preface to what we're about to experience. As Mukano still is behind both Del Olmo and Miller. They did not change positions down the front stretch last time, curiously. Didn't get a chance to see as there was so much action elsewhere. But I'm wondering if we will see much swapping around in there, as it looks like Laust Olsen just took the fastest lap of the race up in the prototypes, but already our GTOs are getting ready to return to the front stretch.
Yeah, this is a very interesting track for the GTO. It's just so much turning, which the GTO is not super good at doing long, sustained turns. Nick Bucanos is at a really good position to take a spot on Javier Del Olmo into the first turn if he wants to do it. You can see Javier trying to stay in the wheel tracks of Reed Miller up ahead. Nick's definitely close enough. He could look to the inside here.
Not poking his nose out yet.
Took a break. He lifted. I think they're trying to save a little bit of fuel around here.
Also worth noting, Sintez Galindo lost 2 positions going wide at Daiichi, so he is down to 6 after Timothy Vaughn and Laust Olsen both went by on that one as our GTOs come down into Coca-Cola. A very sharp right-hand or left-hand kink here that then leads you right into 100R, and different lines for everybody in this group.
Yeah, and you can see just the massive difference. Oh, Farron Grau's had a problem. He's had a massive problem. He's actually collected Laust Olsen as well as Fabian Newmuth, I believe. Quite a few drivers caught up in it, but Farron Grau from second position ends up wrecked.
Oh, and after he had done such a good job on defending on T, but I think there's contact with T involved in this as he gets back running. In fact, he's going to have to pit in. There must be... Yep, it looks like I'm seeing some meatball flags out there. And some drivers are being forced to come in and take some repairs because of that.
Just a hard break for all of them for sure as we come back to live pictures right now. This has really brought everyone close up to Heitor Sintez Galindo for that third position, to be honest with you. We've got a big line of cars right now as they're all battling it out for that third spot.
Also, that bright blue car is Joseph Mudrack, who is up 5 positions from the start in 4th.
Sorry, Joe, the lead of the GTOs is under contention right now. Reed Miller trying to go on the outside of Javier Del Olmo into the first turn. He's going to be hard-pressed to make that one work. Nick McConnell's looking on. Ian Haycox is now caught up. They're all catching up to this lead battle.
Still side by side, nobody willing to give way, and Mukano's just watching on, wondering if this is going to open a chance for him to sneak away second, maybe even the lead. Still side by side down through Coca-Cola, but out of that, it looks like Del Olmo will be the victor as long as he can hold off Miller down through the hairpin, and Miller starts to drop away on the outside of 100R. Mukano's thinks about it, but then has to get back in line.
And these guys battling like this and all the lifting that's been going on from second on back has brought the rest of the GTO class into this battle, down to 5th position. Ian Haycox and Nahul Diaz-Cavila are all part of this battle now.
And I'm sure Mukanos and Haycox are certainly not averse to this. They want to try and get stuck in here as Mukanos thinks about trying to make a pass coming into nets.
That was actually a little defensive from Mukanos. I think Haycox has some speed around here because Nick Mukanos has been looking out his rearview mirrors at Haycox, who's been very strong on the brakes recently. Nick Mukanos a little bit off track there. It's possible, it's really easy to catch a slowdown around here by going off track like that because the curb actually drops away from the level of the track around that turn. But out of the front stretch, looks like everyone's pretty even keel. That's Christian Arribas in the background. He had a spin earlier and is trying to recover his way by cutting through the field.
Haven't seen him disrupt too much quite yet.
Ian's going to make a move on Nick Mukanos here. Looks to
Down
the inside. Look at, oh, we've got Farron Grau exiting the pits. Ian has to back out of it a little bit as Grau's going to get caught up in this lead battle.
He's trying to not get involved in it, but he'll have just a little spurt of free air before once again they hit a corner, and he's going to have to slide in between them. He's not fighting anybody, so he really doesn't need to rush this through, and yes, he plays patient, but now they have to do it all over again with a Rebus, who is going to use the downforce around the outside of 100R to manage to overtake almost all of them. Oh, he's going to hinder just a bit. Del Olmo wide, but Miller's not there to take advantage.
So good moves from everybody, being very cautious and careful around the other classes right now. I expect that's probably going to disappear a little bit as we get towards the end of this race. Just an update on the lead of the GTPs. We have Michael the Turk over NTT. You're watching the battle for 4th position between Mudrack, Sanchez, and Kraytrick as they're all nose to tail right now.
In fact, you could throw in Mastretta, Trangarade, and Jungluth in there as well, as they are all just in line, coming down into the braking of Dunlop. And Mudrack is now having to deal with some of the traffic of Carlos Fonseca just in front, trying to stay out of the way of everybody. Seeing quite a fierce fight here, zipping past him.
Yeah, absolutely. Very, very tense battling going on as Fonseca just has to fall prey to all these GTPs. They're all just running in a line at the moment as they're trying to work out where their positions are going to run. On to the front straightaway, though. Drivers with the best opportunities. It looks like Diego Mastretta might have a move on Martin Kraytrick if he can get the speed down. Owe Trenger has got a draft of about 3 cars that's going to be able to draw, but the GTPs only get fast enough to get a good advantage on the draft really towards the very end of this straight. So you're going to have to be tucked in less than half a second behind, but they're catching up to the top 10 of the GTOs now. This is Jamie Hamill-Smith in 13th that they're going to go by.
Yes, and also worth noting in this is that the traffic is helping Turk and Andy T stay relatively close together at the front. However, they're not battling right now. But this is kind of fascinating because T and Turk are usually rivals over in the Lotus 79 series, but usually T outpaces Turk over there. So the tables have turned slightly.
Absolutely, and they're now up to the battle for that top 5 positions in the GTOs, just now streaking by your screen there. Now it's Gregorio Buscemi and Nahul Diaz-Cavila that they're going to have to work their way by. These GTOs are going to be a little less compliant than the ones in the back of the field because these guys are battling for the lead of this race. They're not going to want to give up time, but fortunately catching them right at the right moment onto the front straightaway.
Yeah, it'll give them a nice, easy chance to just kind of stream by a good chunk of them.
They're not going to be able to catch everyone, though. They're going to get caught up at about 3rd or 4th position up here. Look at the GTOs, though, as they're streaking around trying to make some work here. I think the Turk is going to be hard-pressed to get Nick Makanos into this first turn.
That's Lincoln Twet, who is going to go by and then overshoot the corner, and then Del Olmo and Reed got very close to one another there through Daiichi. Thankfully did not make contact. They've got the Turk approaching. He'll get up to 1 and go by, but now he's got to get second or the lead along with a driver that is a lap down within his own class. That's costing him a little bit, trying to be hesitant and be safe through here. Now he's by.
Yeah, so now that the GTPs are catching up to those GTOs, expect the GTO battles to spread out a little bit and expect some of the GTO drivers to try and take advantage of some positions. Wow. Oh my goodness, contact between T and Twet. And Twet actually, unfortunately, took away the racing line from T a little bit there, and T didn't know where to go, so he's got some front end damage. That's Hubbard Oval that goes off. That's our leader in the GTOs.
Oof, and he's going to lose 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, many positions here. He's waiting to find a clear space to get back on the circuit.
He's got damage. He's got damage. He made contact with the outside wall. He was trying to avoid the spinning Twet and actually has damage on that machine, so he's going to have to come to the pits.
Oh. Yeah, went to the inside, and there was a piece of Armco there. Just no more room to avoid, so there goes his hopes of trying to take the victory as Reed Miller now leads over Nick Mukanos by nearly a second.
So this is the moment that we had between Anti-T and Twet. And you'll see it right here. Yeah, just, I mean, the 10 was trying to find a way around, and then that was Javier who was trying to avoid the incident and ends up making contact with the inside wall. That's major right front damage. That knocks out one of the four wheels here. Three-wheel drive now for Javier Del Olmo, as Javier now in the pits, as well as Fabian Jungluth, who had some contact and actually was parked in the pit entry, blocking Del Olmo from having his entrance.
Yeah, this was a strange one. It was contact with Mastretta down the front straightaway, and I think, yeah, Ove Trangerade also got involved in it. They took out, it looks like, Kavila in the process. Bizarre stuff going on.
Well, you want to know what's really bizarre, Joe? Gregorio Buscemi's in third in the GTOs, and they've got some crazy traffic going on that's making this a real challenge for everyone to try and figure out their way by.
Yeah, rated 16th in the field. Buscemi is punching above his weight class here. There you see him.
Behind! That was Amber Dallenbaugh and Marty Novak who got together because of the slow GTOs through the corner. The GTOs are just doing their normal racing. The GTP's not expecting them to get that slow. This is what I talked about in the pre-race.
Such drastic differences between the two classes, and it causes all kinds of headaches at times. Here's the incident.
Yeah, Amber just being patient, and Marty's trying to get a good exit to pass Amber, and just ends up making nose-to-tail contact through that corner. Fortunately, not too much damage for either of them.
So Mastretta is now in to try and take some repairs. Trying to see if anybody else has ducked in after all the different various contacts and spins that we've been seeing, and I'm not seeing any more, amazingly, as both of those two carry on. So Deturk is your current leader in the GTPs, and Miller is your leader down in the GTOs. There's Deturk right now in the number 2 machine, coming out of hairpin, out of nets and into Panasonic and on the front stretch. Andy T, despite a little bit contact earlier, has been able to get away with it lightly, and it doesn't look like he's lost too much speed in regards to Deturk, but they're dropping Sintez Galindo pretty quickly. It's up to 5 seconds.
Yeah, it's important to note that none of these incidents that we've seen really have to do with people, biting off more than they can chew or anything. This is just, no one's ever driven these cars around this track before. So there's a lot of learning going on about what is normal behavior for the slower class, for the faster class. Where can you make passes? How close can you be going around these sweeping corners? What line is the Audi going to take that the Nissan needs to avoid? These are all things they're learning on the fly right now in the middle of this race.
We've got James King chasing down Martin Krejcik, and he is 10 positions up. We're looking at Pedro Barbosa just behind him as well, who's also fighting with Lowry for 8th position as he comes down into the hairpin, and then back around. It'll be a long sweeping couple kinks before they reach the braking into Dunlop, but doing a good job here, going up from 19th, 11 spots gained. Hardest charger, I think. Nope, looks like Living Good in the 36 has him beat up by 12 in the GTP class.
Yeah, and then in the GTOs, we never see this. Gregorio Buscemi, as we mentioned, 3rd right now in the GTO class, up 11 positions. That's hard to do in the GTO class. Very, very hard to do. So impressive driving from him so far, as he's only half a second off of Nick Bakanos. Gregorio might have a shot at the win here, Joe.
Wow. He'll be through the roof on that one. But James King, who is gaining in the slipstream of Krejcik, as he brings that very bright pink and yellow car down into the braking, isn't close enough. He'll be out ahead of Mastretta, who you saw exiting pit lane, thankfully not causing them any problems, getting into that tight right-hander. Meanwhile, we're actually already just about to the halfway point of this race. It's absolutely flown by.
Yeah, absolutely. It's flying by right now for these drivers for sure. And yeah, here is the battle between Buscemi and Makanos. Makanos has fallen off the back of Reed Miller a little bit here, and Gregorio Buscemi has just been on a tear this entire drive. Honestly, I don't do this that often. I might need to go back and watch the entire replay of this from Gregorio's perspective and see how he pulled this off, because that's hard stuff to do. Nick Makanos, though, a little bit of off track there. Fortunate not to pick up a slowdown penalty, but my goodness, the traffic around here is extremely dangerous right now as Irving Farah goes around the outside of them. That was Paul Velasco who was off track around them as well. Just there's a lot of distractions on track right now.
You got to stay focused forward. You got to watch your race. And as they come down to the braking of Dunlop, they're going to get past.
Oh, here we go.
A couple more, and Buscemi's going to try it. He's got the inside into nets, but it's going to switch back after this. It's a long climb uphill through this portion. Mukanos fires it back through the inside, and he is back ahead, but it was a valiant effort by the 16.
Yeah, good move from Buscemi to try and take that opportunity away. That's Irving Farah falling back yet again. He's going to have to fall in behind these two. And this is going to make things interesting down the front straightaway. Nick gets a pretty decent run, but Gregorio just tucked in. I think he's going to have his best shot yet into...
Ooh, we got to go to the Turk. Sorry, we got to go to the Turk. He just had contact with a lapped car, and that was Carlos Fonseca. Andy T just about had the ability to go by, but did not capitalize. So they are very close together now, and the question is... there's a little damage on the left front, which is where he made the contact. I hope he's not suffering in a straight line now.
He probably will be. That's going to affect him to the tune of 5 to 10 miles an hour, depending on how severe it is. And it looks like it's pretty severe. Look at Anti T with the head of steam.
Easily passed. So Andy is now your new leader. Even though it wasn't right when the wreck happened, he definitely was able to utilize the results of that wreck to get him up to the top spot. The Turk isn't out of it. I'm sure he's got experience trying to navigate these multi-class races, and he could maybe try and sneak back through if the tables turn the other way.
Barbosa and Lowry are still having that battle, as Barbosa actually almost got passed by Lowry. Barbosa able to go up the inside of turn 1 in retaliation on Lowry, who passed him on the front straightaway. Lowry, though, looks like he's got some rear tire issues going on right now. And my goodness, Turk really having issues. He's fallen behind Heitor Santos Galindo now.
Does he have... No, he does not have a meatball flag, so he doesn't have repairs.
He spun it coming out of the hairpin.
Car probably not quite handling how he's used to, with some downforce missing, some straight line speed missing, and potentially, depending on how the suspension is doing, maybe it's just not quite as stable in some of the corners. Here we go. Yeah, kept it from going completely around, but the damage was done. Santos Galindo shows why he became a champion, just picking up everything that everybody else dropped.
Oh, sorry, misshift from Gregorio Buscemi as Gregorio made it past Nick Bacanos. Misshift coming off of the hairpin. Bacanos and Buscemi got together there, but Buscemi's going to be able to hold on to the lead. How much damage does Bacanos have?
Oof. And then
doesn't look like that much, but he's got some front right damage that will be affecting his drive off.
Right as we cut away, we had seen Sanchez and Mudrack, who were in a little bit of a side-by-side battle there in the GTPs. Here, this battle carries on, actually relatively close to that fight that you were just talking about, going way wide there to go Sanchez. Both of them compromised on their way into the hairpin, but neither of them with a slowdown, it looks like. So he did get away with using that extra bit of paved runoff there. Up in front of them, Michael de Turk still suffering from his damage, and he might fall off the podium.
Yeah, I think he's going to. Sanchez is known for being very gutsy in traffic. Mudrack known for being fairly measured, but de Turk really suffering. Oh, Mudrack spins it. He spins it around coming off of nets. He's able to keep going, but he's going to lose that position. No, he won't lose it to Martin Krajcik. It's going to be tight all around here as they all exit. That's Stefan Leslie and Jamie Hamill-Smith who are battling for 10th of the GTOs. Mudrack gets trapped. Krajcik has to go on the outside 4 wide for a moment there.
Yeah, but it looks like Krajcik has the speed. All he has to do is finish it up here. Oh, maybe not. Look at that, into the straightaway. Mudrack actually regained some time on Krajcik. Krajcik goes a little far, but it looks like he's still got the nose ahead. Carries on down into Coca-Cola. Left-hand corner. Going to favor Krejcik this time into there. Is he just going to feed him out? He tries to. Gives barely enough space and then gets pinched off as they overtake Gaudin.
Wow, amazing racing from both of them. That was as close as it gets as Mudrak almost hits the back of Krejcik under braking as Krejcik had to brake early because Plumley was going to take the apex. Now they got James King in this battle. Battle for 5th position between Krejcik, Mudrak, and King.
Up into Dunlop, and Joseph Mudrak is eager to try and get this spot back after his own mistake has cost him into nets. The switching back and forth of hairpins here. The newer part of the circuit, and they're coming up on another lapped car. Looks like Urendane, who's in a battle with Andreas Schuster. And as they come off the corner, this actually is looking pretty ideal. Yep, Gene is just going to pull off to the side.
Gene pulls off to the side. King is too far back. Mudrak with the straight line speed advantage probably is going to try and make a move to the inside here of Krejcik. Here he goes, taking a look to the inside on turn 1. Krejcik, though, late on the brakes last time. He's going to be late this time. They can't be because they got Hideki Koivisto and Marco late battling for 5th position ahead of them. Mudrak goes too deep into the corner. Krejcik with a good opportunity to swap over. But this is going to be a rinse and repeat of last lap, but with opposite vehicles. Let's find out as Krejcik tries to take it into the corner. Koivisto goes wide. Krejcik almost hits Koivisto. Mudrak takes the position.
Yeah, and once again, that lap traffic acting as the perfect pick for him. James King, in the meantime, getting very close to the rear wing of Martin. Not able to overtake down into the hairpin. But the game is on, and it looks like Martin's going to have to go from attack to defense.
Keeping my eyes on the lead in the GTOs, Reed Miller still has about 3.5 seconds over Gregorio Buscemi, as lapping about 2/10 faster than him. So that gap growing actually between the two of them. The closest battles on track are the ones we're watching, and also the battle for 3rd position in GTOs between Nick Picanos and Ian Haycox.
Which this group is coming up right behind, and there it is right there. So unless they catch them down the front stretch, they're going to have to deal with the other half of the course in trying to let them go past. There you see the red car of Mukanos and the green car of Ian Haycox, who pops out after getting a slipstream. He'll have the inside, but Mudrak might make it 3 wide. No, he's going to be able to get back to the racing line before the braking zone, and that looks like potentially job done. No, a little deep, locking up the inside tires there was Ian Haycox. He still gets away with it.
Yeah, Ian Haycox up ahead of Nick Picanos. Nick Picanos really struggling for front-end grip after burning up his front tires a little bit early in the race. You can see how much speed he's trying to carry through Coca-Cola. It's actually starting to hurt him a little bit on his corner exits now.
Watching from the roof cam of Nick Mukanos, who would like to get back on the podium. Granted, he started from 4th. Ian Haycox starting from P5 up 2 positions. Just wants a good finish today. His ended before it even began last time out in France. And they allow the car of Barbosa to go by. Pedro's up into 8th for the Curious.
Important to note, the lead of the GTOs closing once again under 3 seconds now between Buscemi and Miller. Buscemi has 10 laps about to try and close that 3-second gap to try and get a win here in the GTOs. From nearly last place to the lead would be an amazing feat for Gregorio if he could pull it off. Still an amazing feat to get up to 2nd.
There is Mastretta just going to the inside of them, trying to get his laps back. He's been set way back by an accident down the front stretch earlier on. But Mukanos, once again, taking a look down to the inside into Daiichi. He's going to be able to get to the inside. Ian Haycox not showing much defense, and in fact, it looks like he let that happen.
Yeah, it's not worth duking it out with Nick Picanos with 14 minutes to go. That's a last 5 minutes kind of a defense that he would try and make. Nick Picanos is a quick driver, so driving in the wheel tracks of Nick Picanos actually just benefits both of them. Both of them pretty much on even pace in this race, considering the degradation that Nick Picanos is having to worry about right now.
Yep, more traffic behind them. It's been a conveyor belt of GTPs for quite a while now. That's Shaq Wells who is trying to go through almost like a slalom and eventually is able to overtake, but not, I'm sure, without scaring the pair of them.
Yeah, but Ian Haycock's going to look up to the inside here as they head into the net sector. That's not usually doesn't work out here as Nick McConnell's able to get a little bit more power, but Ian Haycock's really showing his nose around here. Here comes Lowry, who's trying to get away from Amber Dawnball for that 10th position. About 3 seconds back is Dawnball, but that's actually going to hold them up around here as Michael DeTurk just continues to drop positions in that number 2 machine. The damage just showing to be too much around here. He's currently duking it out with Joseph Mudrack, but Mudrack just with straight line speed advantage, gonna take this position away. Too deep. That's so dangerous. He caught it.
Holy cow, can we get an onboard replay of the 5 car? He had to catch that 3 or 4 times before it was finally under control. Great job as it bounded over the curbing. Oh, it was already loose on the way in, it looks like, and then the curb on the exit did not help. Beautiful stuff.
Yeah, and ironically enough, Ian Haycock's just did a similar move over the curbs. He didn't have to struggle with it as much because the GTO is a little bit more pliant on the suspension. But yeah, I mean, just watching these drivers try and wrestle around this track, it's really a challenging track for these cars. It's tighter than you want it to be around the entire thing, to be honest with you.
Well, what started as a pretty close fight up front has kind of dissipated because T is a good 5 seconds ahead of Sintez Galindo. And you're going to come over and show it's not just the Lotus 79s he's quick with, but the Kamel GT cars as well. There you see him on screen, still putting laps on those around him. And I know it says anti-T, but this is the quote-unquote Smurf account for the British driver who somehow managed to get himself a Finnish club in there. I still don't know exactly how he did that, but the 10 driver is just putting them up and knocking them down.
Absolutely. So doing a good drive from Andy T, trying to make his way around here. Probably got the Finnish title because he called himself Anti, Joe.
You have to, from what I understand, it has to work with your address. So I don't know what payment address he used, but he did something special. And I mean, he deserves it. He is mighty quick and he's teammates with a lot of Finns. We had another driver with a big incident, Jean Oren Dane, who is now in pit lane. This looks like this was actually a bit ago because he pulled into pits without a nose and was out there for a couple laps. So we'll check that out a little later. In the meantime, continuing to see whether or not Mukanos can demote Haycox off of the podium. It's not for lack of trying, but he's going to run out of time. There's only 10 minutes left.
Yeah, and Namakonos now has major left front damage. I'm trying to go back and see where that damage happened. This was actually off of the curb, the exit curb of the final corner. He clobbered that pretty hard. Now he's got major left front damage. That's really slowing him down compared to Ian Haycox.
So now that Mudrack has gone by to Turk, it looks like Martin Krajcik and James King want to have a go at this. Man, this has got to be frustrating for the 2 car. Knowing he's got more pace, he just can't show it because the car is not optimal as they fly past the very iconic Mount Fuji in this cloudy day. And Carlos Fonseca, yet again, a bit of a hindrance coming out of Dunlop Corner. Didn't do anything wrong, just wrong place, wrong time. Krajcik took a peek and isn't able to execute on the pass, but he gets the good run coming off of Panasonic. He could maybe try and get it down the front stretch.
Absolutely. These two are definitely close enough to DeTurk, especially with DeTurk's damage. I would say Krajcik's probably going to get DeTurk as DeTurk's trying to break the draft while still following in the tracks of Irving Ferrer. This is going to get tight for all of them right now. Here we go. It was 3 wide as they crossed the line. Krajcik around the outside of DeTurk. DeTurk's gone late on the brakes into one before. Is he going to do it again?
He's trying, he's going to defend, and he is very late on the brakes, but he's also not as quick off the corner. Here comes Krajcik pulling ahead just slightly down into Coca-Cola. And unfortunately for Michael, that's job done for Martin. James King could try to get sneaky down to the hairpin. If he wants to feel aggressive, he's approaching, tries to go around the outside, but Michael covers him off.
Yeah, James has got to get this done quick, otherwise he's going to lose Kraytrick, because the Turk is lapping about 1.5 seconds slower than Kraytrick per lap, so he's got to get this done fast, as does King. Up forward, the battle for second position is very tight between the GTPs. Sintez Galindo and Sanchez are very close together as they're trying to get through their own lapped traffic and the top 10 of the GTOs at the same time.
Yeah, this is for P2, and oh, this is going to be a huge run for Sanchez now. Sintez Galindo will get a toe off of Nicky Bobby, and Sintez Galindo is, wow, that actually helped him a treat, because I don't think, unless he's very aggressive, and he's not, it looks like Sanchez decides against it. And plus, they've got some battling in front. Schuster and Plumley fighting for position here in the GTO. Just finding an opening. It looks like Sintez Galindo will run away.
And Sanchez dives it up the inside, aggressive as always, in traffic and contact behind! That was between Plumley and Schuster. Plumley goes around.
Oh, well, it all came to a head in there. There was some very hard fighting. Those two had been side by side, and it looks like, you know, I wonder if Plumley missed a shift because he was ahead of him.
Plumley thought he was going to be headed off track, so he braked again. Schuster was too close behind and couldn't catch it in time.
Out of all this, we have lost nearly 11 or 12 drivers of our 53 starters. It's seen a number of attrition out there today, but Mukanos is hoping not to be amongst them. If that sneering Audi is able to catch up to Ian Haycox, instead he wants to try and spray the champagne today, but this is a lot farther back than what we were seeing before. I think Mukanos is going to have to do something special, and Michael the Turk is in.
Yeah,
he had more problems. Oh, he had contact. He had contact with Stefan Leslie that wound up taking out James King as well. This was on lap 24.
Yeah, this was just about 30 seconds ago, and this was an interesting one because Leslie's just taken his racing line, and Turk just was in a bad position here.
And it looked like from that angle it was a bit of netcode, but I think they were probably on a trajectory.
Yeah, it was pretty predictive. I mean, that would have put Turk in the grass. So, yeah, I mean, tough stuff there for James King. He had nowhere to go to try and solve that problem. Turk didn't want to sweep to the outside for risk of clipping King's nose either. So, just heartbreak for them as we go back to the battle for second position in the GTPs between Sintez Galindo and Sanchez.
Yep, and this promotes a few drivers up positions as well. Behind them, Barbosa now up to 6th and Lowry into 7th.
Joe, that's anti-T just up the road from these guys. So Sanchez has been putting the pressure on Sintez Galindo, who's been gaining time on T. We're into the final 5 minutes here. This is a battle for the lead now in the GTPs.
If I know Andy T, I think maybe he was managing things a little bit, or it could have been traffic that slowed him up. I have to check it out and see. It was 2 seconds slower last time out for him, so maybe that was indeed some traffic and not just management. But yeah, you're right. Sintez Galindo is going to try and push like hell.
Joe, we just had a missile moment happen between Nate Kerr and Jean Orendane. This one was epic in proportion.
Yeah, trying to see if I can find it on mine. And yeah, that is a very strange one.
And there's Jean losing it, and
just spun across the track at the absolute worst moment for Kerr. And the results are obvious for Kerr. The day over and up and over again.
Yeah, Kerr, kept his foot down. He didn't think it was going to happen, and probably was looking at something else. Probably the relative looks up, and there's a car in his way. Seen it happen before.
Yeah, it's just the nature of racing sometimes. It just You take that risk and it doesn't go your way. Sintez Galindo, I don't think, is quite as worried about what's in front as what's behind. As you saw him dive across, maybe trying to hope to break the slipstream of Sanchez, who is in that black and red number 1 machine. Sintez Galindo in the white and blue. And he doesn't have the number 1 on his, but he is number 1 in the points coming into this season. As that 4,300 iRating driver is going to be a little shy of the win potentially, unless something drastic happens from here, because we're down to 3 minutes and he's up to 1.5 seconds now.
You know what also is close is the lead of the GTOs. Reed Miller and Gregorio Buscemi. Buscemi's closed that 3-second gap down to about half a second now, is tucked in behind Reed Miller. Gregorio could complete the last to first challenge today if he gets past Reed.
Wow. Wow. This is just incredible. I don't think I've ever earned that one on the iRacing achievement board. That is not easy to do, especially in a series like this. And man, Mudrack just diving in there. That tells you how fast things happen in this series.
Yeah, absolutely. So Gregorio Buscemi with a good exit here. Reed Miller's exit was compromised. That's going to bring Buscemi even closer as they come through Panasonic. Reed Miller locking up the tires. Not a good exit for Reed. Buscemi's going to have a shot at it this time.
They'll start to feel the toe as they fly down the front stretch. And already Buscemi has just a couple miles an hour over him, covering off the inside. Miller is not going to give this one up easily. Is Buscemi setting him up for the over-under potentially? They break down into Daiichi. Big lockup there for Miller, but there was a tiny lockup for Buscemi as well. Pushing as hard as he can. Reed Miller does not want to give this away, and Buscemi took another think about things down through Coca-Cola, but he's got a good run off of Coca-Cola. Can't get his nose in through 100R.
Great racing for both of these drivers. Both of them want the win. It's so rare that you're in a position to win in the GTO's class in the Kamel GT series. But with Phil Lake and Hugo Lescala not showing up, it's everyone's shot. Gregorio with a good launch off the corner. Reed Miller, no mischief. They got Martin Krajcik looking up the rear window, but neither of them are going to want to give an inch around here because this is the battle for the lead.
Miller's taken wins before. Buscemi has not. And
mischief from Buscemi.
It was so close. Was that his only opportunity? It's white flag now for Andy T, who just crossed the start-finish line. And Sanchez on Sintez Galindo is going for second place. This time he's got the inside. But look at Aitor send it in as far as he dares down to Daiichi, and even finds the car, somehow finding grip off of that hairpin. Inside into Coca-Cola. Can he fend off Sanchez? He's going to give him a little bit of space. Sanchez now with the advantage through 100R, and he's by.
Sanchez is by. It doesn't mean the battle's over, though. Sanchez doesn't have time to catch up to Andy T, so Sintez Galindo with a good opportunity, but it's just too hard. The car doesn't want to turn anymore. It's a little neutral on him. He's falling behind Sanchez.
I can report that Buscemi's still a half second behind Miller, and they've already done the front stretch. He will need a momentous run next time out of Panasonic if he hopes to take the victory away from him. Meanwhile, Andy T has jumped over from the Lotus 79s, where they say passed faster. Well, he fast forwarded about 10 years or so, about 11 years, up into the Kamel GT cars, and is going to take a win here at Fuji's first running for Kamel GT.
Xavier Sanchez is going to come in second with Aitor Sintez Galindo in third, but then eyes go to the lead of the GTOs. Nose to tail again, Buscemi and Miller as they come through Dunlop, now into Nets. Buscemi going to try one last attempt up the inside of Nets. Can't get it done. He's going to have a really good exit off of Panasonic to try and get this pass. He looks up the inside of the hairpin at Next. Can't quite get it done. It's now about half a second behind. He's going to try and look up the inside of Panasonic. He knows Reed's been a little bit tight, but that's going to be it done unless Reed has a misshift. That's going to be the race over. Reed Miller coming down the front stretch will take his first win on the season over Gregorio Buscemi.
Gregorio just firing off Hail Marys at every corner, hoping that it'll give him a spot behind them. Looks like Downball is actually going to get by Wells, maybe?
And look at this, seventh position, sixth position for the GTOs. Andreas Schuster and Jamie Hamill-Smith duking it out side by side. They were side by side with across the line last time. Jamie Hamill-Smith up the inside. Schuster trying to do the over-under, get the run off of Panasonic, but misshifts himself. That's going to give Jamie Hamill-Smith sixth position over Andreas Schuster.
All right, at the end, well done to the 26 car. Up 4 positions. We're going to take a quick break. We'll come back with the official results as well as driver interviews, so stick around.
Yeah, we don't. He could have a little bit of sidewall damage there to the car that could be affecting his aerodynamics just a little bit. But here comes Doug thinking about a move to the outside, going down into the chicane. He's going to have to be very brave to do it, and pulls it off. Oh, you can't get a whole lot closer than that. My goodness gracious.
Let's take a look at this from the hood, because this is where Partridge needs to change his pants, and Kinchler probably does too after he saw what happened in his mirrors. But Partridge comes in too hot, clips that inside curve, gets unsettled, then he's on the brakes. We're going to go in slow-mo here to see how close it was, and it was very close.
Yeah, the top 3 have been an incredible fight. Oh man.
Gently does it, boys, as they make their way down. They bang wheels. Oh, Sebastian Tixier, he goes tumbling over. Trengarade going off the circuit. Goodness gracious. Looked like Jim Shedlick went off the track in sympathy there.
This is the view that he has going through. He sees a couple lights in the distance, trying to get it rejoined.
Oh, that's not good. Careful, boys, careful. Too wide coming up, Eau Rouge. And the loser there is going to be Vaughn, as Karthik Pai keeps his foot in it. Vaughn going to lose another position there to Mika Lino. And Lino going to go for a 2-for-1 as they come down the Kamel straight. He has got such massive overspeed. Look at that move from the number 5 machine.
Welcome back to Fuji Speedway. Our first time getting to cover this track here on GSRC. Put on quite the show, and Andy T got himself the win. As Xavier Sanchez was in second with a very close fight between himself and Sintez Galindo all the way down to the end, and Ator couldn't hold him off. Joseph Mudrack with a great qualifying and even better finish up into fourth. Was ahead of Martin Kraytrick in P5. Robert Lowry was up 6 spots here into 6th position. Jack Wells up 7 into 7th. And then Amber Dawnbaugh was up 3 into 8th. You've got Pedro Barbosa, our on-cam driver, finishing 9th today. Kieran Pirik was in 10th, up 15 spots, the last one on the lead lap. After that, it was Paul Velasco in 11th. Brendan Lim was P12, with Farron Grau having a horrible race today after he qualified so well up there in 3rd. Could only get 13th. Ferrer was 14th. Laust Olsen, another one that fell victim to some misfortune today, was 15th. Living Good was P16. Mistretta 17th. And Nicky Bobby was in a P18, with the rest of our GTPs either finishing many laps down or getting a DNF today.
Reed Miller comes home with the win today in the GTOs, second to first after Javier Del Olmo had his moment where he had to try and avoid an incident and then ends up wrecking out. Then we have Gregorio Buscemi, who finishes in second position, up 12 spots today. 12 spots, started 14th in class, up to second position. Ian Haycox coming home in third, with Nick Macanos just behind him in fourth position. Mark Olay in fifth today over Jamie Hamill-Smith and Andreas Schuster and Robert Plumley, as they were all battling for those bottom of the top 10 positions. Stefan Leslie comes home in a comfortable spot there in the 9th spot, with Carlos Fonseca really just the unfortunate driver who ended up being the obstacle for all the GTPs today, coming home in 10th spot, with David Silva and Gabriel Letty rounding out your drivers who finished on the lead lap in the GTOs. Then we have our drivers who had issues: Hideki Koivisto, Emerson Gaudin, Nahel Diaz-Cavila, and the drivers who had major issues: Travis Rodriguez, Javier Del Olmo, Mika Tupla, Doug Cloud, Ryan Walker. And that rounds out your field.
And that brings us to our winner, Andy T, who started on the front row and eventually was able to get enough of a mistake and a little bit of damage on his rival to help him get ahead. So, Andy, it looked pretty frantic out there for our first time seeing Kamel try this track. How did it feel from inside the cockpit, though?
The track's great. The other cars on the track are less than great.
Yes, well, welcome to Kamel, where it's going to be like that. And it seemed like that basically everywhere but the front stretch was difficult to try and overtake the GTOs. Where did you find the most problem trying to get by them?
It's the slow speed corners. You just don't have the turn in on this car. It felt like I couldn't rotate it in low speed. And the one time I tried to go around the outside of an Audi, I got forced off. Probably my fault and no grip. But it's sketchy. And this was my first ever race in this series, so I had no idea what to expect, other than Michael telling me it's going to be carnage.
Well, that brings me to the question I was going to ask. Was it Michael that brought you over, or was it your fellow Finns that invited you?
Oh, Michael. I saw him do Le Mans last week, and I thought, okay, that looks fun. I'll give that a go. Yeah, the Nissan's fantastic to drive, but I don't know how much you'll see me because, oh my God, that traffic is just so scary.
Yeah, it's the nature of the beast in this one. Well, you certainly look fast if you do show up again. Congratulations on the win, and hopefully we'll get to see you some more.
Super. Just a quick apology to Ferron. He opened up the line for the last turn, and I've tried to take the inside and understeered into him. Apologies, man. Like, absolutely no intent there. And I'm just big apologies for Michael. I'm really sorry that happened to you, buddy. You probably should have been winning that one. Sorry, man.
A bit of luck, unfortunately, or unluck in case of Michael Laturkas. That was Andy T, your winner. Up next, we've got our third place finisher, Aitor Sintez Galindo, in the number 4 car.
Absolutely. Aitor, a good battle between yourself and Javier there, and close up to Andy T as well. Talk to me about your race, though. This one was very interesting.
Well, it was quite a workout today. I'm exhausted. Yeah, I'm really tired today. Well, I fought like it was the championship right there. But yeah, it was a very, very hard race. Trying this hard to catch up to Antti and Michael. And yeah, it was an interesting race with the incident I had with Michael. No, sorry, it was Antti and Ferran. Ferran is not happy, and yeah, he told me several times. So, I need to know the details, but yeah, it was unfortunate. So it was 2 freebies that, I'm glad to take them, but yeah. And yeah, there was another podium. I've been for a lot of podiums lately since last season, honestly. So yeah, good result and happy with the result.
Yeah, it's got to feel good to be getting those podiums, but I got to ask you, this is, we gave this track its full testing session. That's probably the maximum amount of cars we're going to have around here. What are your thoughts on Fuji and Kamel?
Well, Fuji is quite wide, and yeah, there's been a full race today, so a full grid. It was quite good in terms of multi-class, so you could pass in not in the sketchy moments, even though there were some sketchy moments, I'm sure, between GTPs and GTOs. But yeah, it's a good track. I don't like it as much because the last sector I hate it with a passion. It's very. It's in the last 2 corners is you need to thread the brake and the throttle at the same time, and it's very tricky, and I'm not a fan of it. But regardless, multi-class is quite interesting. It's been I think it was quite clean, but I usually think about some sort of paradox that the wider the track, the more aggressive the passes are, and the more hairy situation there are. So I can't tell for the rest of the grid, but for me it was a clean race.
Well, Aitor, is there anyone you want to thank for your finishing position today?
Usual suspects, you guys, ESRC for the broadcast, my family and friends are watching, my team is a Pushrod, and the Kamel community. And thanks, everybody. I'll see you next week.
Well, that was Aitor Santos Galindo finishing in third today in the GTPs. And Joe has caught up with our winner in the GTOs. Reed Miller has hopped on to talk to us.
Yeah, Reed, you had to fight two different people. First, Del Olmo and then Gregorio, both trying to take that win away from you. How was that?
Well, it was a very fun race. Very unlucky for Javi. I guess he almost ran into someone who span out, and then that was unfortunate for him. And then Gregorio, really turned on the jets for the last half of the race, so I was pushing as hard as I could for sure.
I'm sure you've raced him before, but were you a bit surprised to see Gregorio up there vying for the potential win on today? Because we were certainly kind of wowed that he suddenly showed up.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit surprised, but everybody has a shot. Every race is different, so it was very impressive for sure. Yeah.
Now, we heard from the GTP drivers already on their thoughts on this track. What about from a GTO perspective? Does it feel decently suited?
Yeah, I think so. It's pretty challenging. The whole infield section you're fighting a lot understeer, and in the last sector, traffic is quite difficult because the corridors are all slow, and neither car really has a big advantage. So it was tricky, but I like this track very much. It's very fun.
Well, congratulations on another victory, and obviously that'll boost you up quite a bit compared to the previous week. Anybody you want to shout out to?
Well, thanks to my pit crew here and the whole Kamel community, everyone. Thanks, guys.
I was Reed Miller winning GTO today. Up next, it looks like Adam has caught up with, I believe, our 9th place finisher over in the GTPs, Pedro Barbosa.
Yeah, Pedro, we know you're on for, somewhere near at least a top 5, but that engine blowout really ending up hurting your day. But talk to me about the rest of your race. How was it up until that point?
Good evening or good afternoon here in Portugal. It was quite nice. It was my first race on Kamel GT. I tried last week to do the Le Mans, but it was I blew the engine on the first lap, so I guess there's a pattern there. Yeah, the racing was quite nice. The difference of pace between at least on this track between the Audi and the Nissan was quite hairy, let's say, and it was quite hard to pass in some places, and on others there were some questionable moves. But yeah, it was very fun. I have to say, my first real race on this car and on this series, and it was really fun. Just unfortunate for blowing up the engine 2 laps from the end, but I managed to only lose 3 places, I think, because I was running 6th and trying to catch on to 5th.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, next week we head over to Watkins Glen, the boot layout. Will you be joining us there? And if so, what are your thoughts on heading into that race in this car?
Yeah, I didn't even test this car in Watkins Glen, but because it's a car that almost has a little bit of modernness on the way you drive it, it will be very fun to go through the long right-hander, the sweeping right-hander. I think it will be very fun. I think some cars will crash there, and yeah, I'm thinking. I think I'm going to join more times on this schedule. I think I'm going to. I'm going to have to free up some time to do it, but because racing in the weekend normally it's quite hard, but to get all the races in. But it's so much fun that I really want to do it again.
Well, we do hope that you come back and visit us, and we look forward to seeing you when you are able to make it. But is there anyone you want to thank for your top 10 today?
My teammates that were keeping me company and willing me on to blow the engine. They got what they wanted, 2 laps from the end. So I would like to thank everyone at the Alliance and TGM, my teammates, and everyone from the broadcasting to all of the guys from VCR. They are all top-notch guys. They make everyone feel very welcome, and after everyone that rates with us, and could keep it on track.
Yeah, absolutely. VCR being the league that runs in these official Kamel races. But thanks for talking to us, Pedro, and we look forward to seeing you in the future.
Yeah, thank you guys. See ya.
That was Pedro Barbosa, who finished in the 9th position in the GTPs. Back to you, Joe.
Well, this was a fun romp. I hope we come back here more often. This certainly provided some fun racing out there. And we want to give a big thank you to the Kamel GT community for bringing us back for another season of coverage, of course. And thank you to the team today, Adam, Ryan, and Dougie. Make sure to check out our social media, our website, and our merchandise store. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well so you don't miss a moment here on GSRC. Our next race is going to be Watkins Glen. That'll be Saturday, July 2nd at 1 p.m. Eastern. So be sure to check out that and our other broadcasts listed here. However, until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.